What's up guys, it's Tom here and welcome to part 1 of the FC25 Career Mode new features breakdown and detailed analysis video with pictures and all the latest information of what is new on FC25 Career Mode. So if you are excited about FC25, the new season, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here because I will post as often as possible, almost daily FC25 Career Mode content as soon as the game is out. So let's break it down. The first one is the live start points, which will keep the season fresh. No matter what point the season is at, you will be able to start a season and take control of a team from any game week across the 24-25 season. So not just from game week 1, but you can jump in at the halfway stage of the season in the Premier League, Championship, La Liga, French League, Serie A, Bundesliga and other leagues. 10 leagues and 12 cup competitions will be featuring in this, which means that you can take over a struggling club fighting against relegation and save them from relegation. Or you could take over a small club doing well, like a Girona that did really well last season. At the halfway stage they were top of La Liga. You could take over them and try and win the league with them. Or you could take over your struggling favorite team and save them throughout basically in the middle of the season. There will be live start points, or at the beginning of the season, at the end, and each live start point will reflect the actual points total, the goals scored, all the transfers, the cup progress, players form, even injuries, suspensions. And even if you get a team with points deductions, like Everton and Nottingham Forest got points deductions last season, you can take over them at that point and try and save them from relegation. The EA is saying that their aim is to release new game weeks regularly, giving you the option to play alongside authentic competitions, potentially change the outcomes of the teams, change the destination of teams depending on your own goals and performance, and snapshots capture some of the most pivotal moments of the season. So snapshots will be like a quick career mode where you just jump into a scenario like save a club from relegation with like 5 games to go, and you have a quick snapshot of just those 5 games and you have to save them from relegation, to jump in and take a team over across a selection of European leagues. And the snapshots will reflect events like manager sackings, big player transfers, surprise unbeaten streaks and underperforming clubs turning fingers around. And I think this is a game changer for career mode. Honestly, we wanted this feature for so many years. I wanted this feature for so many years, and it will be good for the career mode content on YouTube as well, because I could have almost endless opportunities throughout the season to take over a team in mid-season, jump into their season and try and achieve an amazing season with them. Like maybe take over Leverkusen when they were unbeaten halfway through the season and try to win the Bundesliga with them unbeaten. That would be a great live starting point of last season, for example. And here is an example. You take over Liverpool after 23 games. They are top of the league. Can you see it through? Can you win the league with Liverpool? Or you could take over Aston Villa, for example, and can you qualify for the Champions League with them? Or even try to win the league title because the difference is just 5 points. Or you are a West Ham fan. You can take over West Ham and try and get them into the Champions League. So there are so many scenarios and so many endless possibilities, because there will be 10 leagues and 12 cup competitions. And I think women's leagues will have these live starting points as well, because in women's football you will be able to take over teams in the 4 major leagues of women's career mode or women's football as well. And now let's talk about the youth academy, because the scouting capabilities have been upgraded. Now you will be able to scout in 160 different countries, which will also make career mode so much more fun, because you can do a specific like Oceania career mode where you just scout in countries from Oceania, or you can scout from countries in like Africa or South America. And I just wish that there would be more national teams introduced as well, because what I love to do on career mode is scout in my home country, Hungary, and try to improve the national team that way. But you can see some exotic countries like Solomon Islands, Fiji, Tonga. You can scout in even these countries as well. But I think the biggest change is that finally the youth players will look young. And also you can also scout up to 4 specific positions, and you can even scout for specific player styles and also player roles that you have in the team. So you have, maybe you want to replicate Arne Slot's Liverpool playing style. You can scout for a deep lying playmaker who is great at keeping the ball and great at passing and possession and dribbling as well. You can scout for a deep lying playmaker, center midfielder, specific type of player in any country that is listed among these 160 countries. So that's very, very exciting and very interesting as well. You can scout for up to 3 distinct player roles within the selected positions, regardless of what your tactics and playing style and strategy calls for. We want you to have the ability to better shape your team's future. That's what EA is saying, and that is very, very exciting. What I'm also excited about is the 5v5 rush game mode, which feels very different to Volta. It's a smaller pitch like in Volta, but it's actually a grass pitch, and it feels like 5-a-side football, which I absolutely love, and I'm playing to this day in a mini league of 5-a-side football teams. And now you will be able to play Youth Academy tournaments inside career mode and try out Youth Academy players. And if you win those tournaments, you will get a boost and the bonus of development into your Youth Academy players. So every 2 months you will have a Youth Academy tournament, which I think is perfectly in balance, because you don't want them every week, but you also don't want them only twice a season. So every 2 months feels just about right that you can try out some, of your Youth Academy players, and you can even play as their full potential, which is very interesting. Here you can see a youth tournament where it's a semi-final, Man City against Liverpool, and you can select 5 of your best Youth Academy players to play and to enter this tournament, which I think is very, very interesting. And finally, I think the biggest change into the Youth Academy apart from these is that finally the youth players will look young. You don't get a 15-year-old now with a full beard and a balding hair or a balding head and a full physical 6'7" size. You will have Youth Academy players who are also 14 years old, so now they will appear as young as 14 years old, and they will actually look young and not just and they will develop throughout the game. These player faces, by the way, that you are seeing on the screen, they don't look too great, but this is only a beta version, so I'm sure that they will be better refined and the players will look better, because the footage that I've seen of the FC25 beta, the player faces look much, much better. And the Youth Academy players now will look young, and they will also grow in size, and their faces will change as they get older. So if you start a Youth Academy player when he's 14 years old, he will look completely different when he's 22, 23 years old. He will be taller, he will be more muscular, he will weigh heavier, and his facial attributes, facial features will change as well. And that's what we wanted. We wanted Youth Academy players to look young when they are young, and they should change their appearance. They shouldn't look the same when they are 14 to when they are 23, 24. So this is a massive change, and with the new AI being implemented and Cranium being implemented into the game, now a lot of players will look a lot more realistic and a lot more lifelike, real lifelike, and also Youth Academy players will have a lot more different facial features, and they will not just look the same, because you had so many times there were 2 Youth Academy players who looked exactly the same, because there are very few options on FC24 of generic faces. But now with the AI and the Cranium new feature, you will get so many different facial features and different looking Youth Academy players that you will be able to tell them apart very, very nicely. And now let's talk about one of the biggest changes, FCIQ, which means that the tactics, the team management is completely revamped. It's the biggest change in 10 years in tactics and in tactical presets. Each tactical preset will be defined by a set of key roles covering the pitch alongside a specific build-up and defensive approach combination. And all tactical presets are compatible with all formations available, with the formation slightly impacting the presets requirement. For example, a tiki-taka tactic will require a central midfielder to take the deep-lying playmaker role, but if your formation does not have a central midfielder, that role can be taken by a central defensive midfielder as well. And here you can see the default Real Madrid tactics. The tactical preset is tiki-taka. The formation is 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, and you can see that Tchouaméni is a CDM, but he has the holding role. Valverde has a deep-lying playmaker role. Bellingham has the playmaker role. Camavinga is box-to-box. Vinicius Jr. is a false 9. Carvajal and Mendy are false backs, which means basically inverted fullbacks, inverted right backs, inverted left backs who come inside into midfield sometimes. I think that's very, very interesting. You can set the build-up style, the defensive approach, and there are so many different tactical variations that you can set up. But also you can make career mode very simple by removing a lot of features. If you don't want to do training and focus on the match sharpness of the players, you can just turn that off, and you can just focus on playing games and maybe doing transfers. If that's your thing, then that's great. But you can even turn off transfers as well if you want on career mode. So I think there are a lot more customization, which I think will make the game a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable, and everybody can select their personal preference. What I absolutely love is now you can turn off the board objectives, and you can basically turn off getting sacked in career mode, because if you turn off the board objectives, the board won't bother you with ridiculous rules and goals. And these tactical presets and prayer roles will give new meaning to coaching staff, because now the coaching staff possess the ability to raise the role familiarity of players that are set to the key roles on the pitch for one level. So you can train a player for a distinct specific player role. Maybe you have an attacking midfielder who is not great at scoring goals. You can train him up to be a deep-lying playmaker or a box-to-box midfielder, and his defensive attributes will improve. Most formations require one key player role per department, so per attack, midfield, defense, but it allows more, which opens up new opportunities and dilemmas for managers as well. Only one deep-lying playmaker is needed in midfield to apply tiki-taka. Hiring an expert tiki-taka coach in the midfield department means you can improve any central midfielder that's not already a natural deep-lying playmaker plus. So each manager can decide, depending on the squad's natural abilities and opposition, whether to play with extra freedom and more effective playmakers in midfield, or with more safety by also assigning a holding role. With this new system, EA wants to offer players more flexibility, more possible combinations between formations, tactical presets, player roles, and coaching staff choices. Additionally, scouting for players now also includes the option to look for players with specific roles that fit specific presets as well. And now in the squad hub, you will be able to see not just the position of the player, but the positions of the player. Here you can see Phil Foden, but you can also see what kind of player roles he can play at an expert level. And now you have development plans 2.0, which means that this is fueled by player roles and include role growth potential, with each role having its own development plan that focuses on a set of attributes and abilities. The role rating of each player determines the potential of key attributes for that role, which I absolutely love. So over time, if a player is growing consistently on the attributes that are key to a specific role, there's a chance to trigger a role rating level up. When that happens, it increases the potential of those attributes, unlocking a new stage of growth, which means that you can actually grow the players not just to their full potential, but even maybe beyond that. Development plans now surface useful contextual information, such as factors that influence growth or development stage each player is in, growth, peak, or retiring. So that is very, very encouraging and very exciting as well. And the morale sweet spot is also a very interesting new addition that you can still tweak in press conferences. And now in press conferences you will be asked about specific tactics and tactical tweaks of your team, the opposition's team, different players maybe having different roles as well. So more variety of questions is always a good thing in press conferences. So you have to find a sweet spot with the morale system. It means that if players' morale get over a certain level, players are no longer very happy, they become complacent. And in this state, their mental attributes are reduced instead of increased. So the ideal interval for morale, aka the sweet spot, is to keep the player very happy. And that varies, with some players being more calm and professional than others, depending on what kind of personality they have. So that is also very, very interesting. The press conference questions will be now fueled by tactical choices, the opponent's stat setup and match statistics as well. So more variety of questions will make the career mode more fun as well. And this is it for part 1 of FC25 career mode new features. In part 2 we will talk about women's career mode, many more things like the youth academy, gameplay changes and so on and so forth. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.